In the Antarctic Ocean, 28 people were aboard a ship, but their ship had become trapped among millions of tons of ice. They had been stuck in the same spot for 7 months. During this time, one night they heard a loud noise from beneath the ship, and at the same moment the ship tilted to one side. It felt as if someone had tried to push the ship forcefully from below. What happened next was beyond their wildest imagination. Where the waves are as tall as buildings, the winds blow at 100 kilometers per hour, and the water is so cold that it can freeze the blood in a human body. Traveling in this ocean is like embracing death itself. Even if you survive the cold and the waves, icebergs as big as mountains can easily crush a ship. But 111 years ago, when neither technology nor ships were this advanced, in this very terrifying ocean, a group of 28 people had their ship trapped. Under the open sky, they didn't just spend a few weeks or months, but astonishingly, they survived for a full 2 years. All around them was nothing but ice, stormy winds, a shortage of food and water, and no chance of calling for help. This is a survival story that the world has called the greatest survival story of all time. The hero of this story is Sir Ernest Shackleton, who was an explorer, and his mission was to test the endurance of the human body. That's why he named his ship Endurance. He had undertaken many dangerous missions in his life. In 1901, he was part of a mission to reach Antarctica but had to turn back when he was still 750 kilometers away. In 1907, he embraced this mission once again but had to turn back just 150 kilometers before reaching the destination. And this time, in 1914, his plan was not only to reach Antarctica, but he also intended to cross the continent on foot. The only reason was that Sir Ernest Shackleton wanted to do something that no one had ever done before. This mission was named the Imperial Trans-Antarctic Expedition, and because the nature of this mission was extremely dangerous, no one was willing to join it. For Sir Ernest, the very first challenge was to find a crew for his expedition, so he wrote an advertisement and had it published in the Times newspaper. Keep in mind, this was not an ordinary tour operator's ad. Its opening words were, "Men wanted for hazardous journey." It was clearly stated that you will be paid very little, you will face deadly cold, you will have to live in darkness for months, you will be playing with danger every moment, and there is no guarantee of a safe return. Sir Ernest wanted to attract people who were not afraid to face dangers. Soon he hired a crew of 27 people. You will be paid very little, you will face deadly cold, you will have to live in darkness for months, you will be playing with danger every moment, and there is no guarantee of a safe return. Sir Ernest wanted to attract people who were not afraid to face dangers. Soon he hired a crew of 27 people. Sir Ernest had planned for this mission for 4 years, but as the time drew near, the dream of the expedition started to fade because World War I had begun in the world. Everyone thought that now the expedition would probably be cancelled, but Britain, which had itself declared war, gave permission for the Imperial Trans-Antarctic Expedition. For this mission, an extremely strong ship was needed, one that could cut through the ice-covered Antarctic Ocean. But this was not an easy. Fortunately, a vessel suited for these harsh conditions already existed, built to sail in the frozen Arctic. A Norwegian shipbuilding company had originally constructed this sturdy ship for another explorer who envisioned taking the elite of that time on adventurous polar bear hunting trips using this ship. However, his business model ultimately flopped. Sir Ernest Shackleton purchased this ship and renamed it the Endurance. The Endurance was specially built using thick American oak wood to withstand the pressure of the ice. And the design was such that the wood could withstand the immense pressure of the ice. It was a kind of hybrid ship equipped with both sails and an engine. Finally, the day arrived that Sir Ernest had been waiting for over the past several years. On August 8, 1914, Endurance set sail from the city of Plymouth, England. For the next 4 months, they continued their journey in the Atlantic Ocean. First, they went to Argentina, then from there to South Georgia Island, and after making the final preparations there, on December 5, 1914, they set the ship's course towards the Weddell Sea in the Antarctic Ocean. On board the Endurance, along with 28 people, there were also 50 large breed dogs, which were to be used for pulling equipment and supplies across the Antarctic ice. The journey continued for 46 days, and now they were just 1 day away. They were just one day away from reaching the coast of Antarctica, but then, on January 18, 1915, the first disaster blocked their path. What happened was that the layers of ice over the Weddell Sea kept getting thicker and thicker, and at one point these layers became as much as 18 feet thick. Now, the Endurance no longer had the power to break through and move forward. In some places, the ice was so weak that even starting a journey on foot from there was not possible. It wasn't. Endurance got stuck in the ice about 130 kilometers before reaching its destination, Varsel Bay. At first, it seemed like this problem was temporary, but in reality, it turned out to be the biggest obstacle in the path of the Imperial Trans-Antarctic Expedition. After trying continuously for several days, they decided to manually move the 300-ton ship forward. For the next 2 days straight, the crew became completely exhausted from cutting through the ice and making a path. But this task was even more difficult than they had imagined. After many days of hard work, they were only able to move the ship about 300 meters forward. But after that, the Endurance got stuck again. After a month of trying to free the ship, Sir Ernest finally gave up on the 14th of February 1915. He decided to leave the ship to the natural movement of the ice. It was possible that as soon as winter passed, the ice would break on its own. During this time, the Endurance was serving as a winter station. The crew began to carry out their routine tasks in it, but the only difference was that the ship was now standing still in one place. The crew's morale was very high and Sir Ernest had maintained strict discipline on the ship. To keep themselves busy throughout the day, they would have discussions, play soccer, cut each other's hair and spend time cooking. All the while, they waited for the ice to break one day and give them a way forward or back. Days passed for the crew aboard the Endurance, and everyone grew even closer to one another. They even began to form an emotional attachment with the animals. Everyone hoped that one day they would reach somewhere near civilization, but perhaps nature had something else in store for them. In April 1915, the ice did start to break, but due to increasing pressure, the layers of ice began to pile up on top of each other, and this was an extremely unexpected event. The millions of tons of compressing ice also began to put pressure on the Endurance. At this point, the most important thing was to free the ship from the pressure of the ice, so everyone worked together to remove the ice. After weeks of hard work, this problem was averted, but the danger still remained. On the night of July 14, 1915, a loud noise suddenly came from beneath the ship, and the Endurance tilted to one side. No one knew what had actually happened. Was it the collision with a whale or something else? Somehow the night passed. But what they saw in the morning was unbelievable. The layers of compressed ice had not only tilted the ship to one side, but now its rudder, which was used to steer the ship was turned, it was completely destroyed. The crew of the Endurance had now been stranded here for 7 months, and they were at least 2,000 kilometers away from any human settlement. No contact with anyone, no hope of calling for help. If they had hope in anyone, it was Sir Ernest Shackleton. On the 18th of October, the dreams of the Imperial Trans-Antarctic Expedition had been shattered. For 9 months, the mission's crew had been stranded in the same place. Then, one night, a sudden wave of pressure hit, tilting the Endurance 30 degrees to one side in the blink of an eye. Now, the threat of the ship leaking loomed over their heads. In some places, water even started seeping in because of the cracks. The entire crew worked together through the night trying to keep water from entering the ship, but perhaps the roof over their heads would only last this long. On October 27, 1915, Sir Ernest Shackleton gave the order to abandon the ship because this was now the only way to save their lives. The essential equipment and supplies were taken out. Animals, food and drink, lifeboats, bedding, everything was taken out, and now the entire crew was forced to come out onto the ice sheet under the open sky. The ship they had relied on for so many months was now destroyed before their eyes, crushed by the pressure of the ice, and slowly began to sink into the water. Now everyone had just one question on their minds. How long could they wait on this floating chunk of ice? Sir Ernest Shackleton decided that staying here was not without danger. He knew about an island called Paulette, 550 kilometers away, where there used to be shelter and supplies. But relying on just 3 lifeboats was not enough to reach there. After all, if the ice could break such a huge ship, what chance did these lifeboats stand? So it was decided to try to reach the island on foot. They began their journey toward Paulet Island, which turned out to be the most dangerous part of their adventure. For the next 6 months, the crew faced life-threatening dangers. Wherever they set up camp on the ice sheet, either holes would appear in it or it would start drifting with the current. Fortunately, these ice sheets were slowly drifting toward Paulet Island, so Sir Ernest decided that they would drift on the ice sheet itself until they reached Paulet Island. By now, the crew had run out of all their food and water. Whatever they found on the drifting island-like ice sheet, they tried to hunt it. Like penguins and seals, for example. In February 1916, they set out on their journey to Antarctica. Now it had been 13 months. Now, the situation was such that they had to survive on just one biscuit at a time. By the next month, while waiting for Paulet Island, things got so bad that they even had to kill their dogs. Now, for the next few days, they managed to arrange enough to get by. They hoped that upon reaching Paulet Island they would find some supplies, but the floating island they were on changed its direction and started heading towards Elephant Island instead of Paulet Island. For the next several days the sea was stormy and turbulent. The temperature dropped to -20 degrees and many crew members began to suffer from frostbite. Everyone's mouths and tongues had become so swollen that even swallowing was difficult. Before they knew it, April 1916 had arrived. Relying on broken sheets of ice, they somehow managed to reach Elephant Island. For the first time in the past 16 months, they were touching solid ground. They breathed a sigh of relief on Elephant Island. But the island was completely barren and it wasn't possible to stay there for long, especially after the food supplies ran out. There was only one hope left, and that was South Georgia Island, 1,300 kilometers away from there. Sir Ernest Shackleton decided that he would undertake this suicidal mission to South Georgia Island in a lifeboat. He selected a few men from the crew, and on April 24, 1916, they set out from Elephant Island for South Georgia Island. This route is considered one of the most dangerous sea routes in the world. They had to face waves that were as high as 90 feet. The icy cold was so intense that every part of their bodies began to freeze. Along with all these difficulties, they had to make this journey without GPS or a compass, relying only on the stars and the sun. Despite giving it their all every day, they couldn't cover more than 80 kilometers in a day. After 16 days, on the 10th of May 1916, Sir Ernest Shackleton and 5 crew members finally managed to reach South Georgia Island. But there was a problem. They had landed on the wrong side of South Georgia Island, and in front of them stood mountains 4,000 feet high. After a continuous climb of 36 hours, they finally reached the other side, where the whaling station was located. Shackleton was in such a bad state that the people at the whaling station couldn't even recognize him. No one could believe that Sir Ernest, who had set out almost a year and a half ago, had arrived here in such a condition. After staying in South Georgia for 3 days, Trice had left people behind in terrible condition. They made several unsuccessful attempts to reach Elephant Island. Finally, on the 30th of August 1916, they saw smoke rising from Elephant Island in the distance, which had been lit as a signal. Sir Ernest had no idea how many of his men had survived, but as they got closer, to their astonishment, they found the entire crew on Elephant Island alive and well. They had first set out from England on the 8th of August 1914. After a full 2 years and 22 days, he brought his entire team safely back home. Of course, he never completed his original mission. He had previously made 2 failed attempts to reach the South Pole, and even in the Imperial Trans-Antarctic Expedition, they got stuck just 120 kilometers short. But his survival story earned him a place that perhaps even completing the mission could not have given him. 107 years after this incident, in the year 2022, Endurance was finally found in the Antarctic Ocean. Even today, Endurance lies perfectly preserved 3,000 meters below on the ocean floor. Even the name written on it can still be read clearly. We hope you will also like and share this video from Zem TV wholeheartedly. Thank you so much for your loving comments. See you in the next amazing video.